Hello and welcome to the Easily Excitable podcast. My name is Topham and this week I'm alone. I'm going to be talking about the video game Oneshot this week. It's going to be quite spoilery, so you've been warned. So Oneshot is it's an indie game that came out in December 2016. It's got 8-bit graphics, but it has some elements of it that kind of jump out from the game itself and occupy parts of your computer that you need to go and hunt down. The game makes it very clear as you go through the first 20 minutes or so that you are not the player character. There is a character called Nico. You are the one that's playing the game. So there's a character called Nico. You are the one playing the game. And there's a character in the game called Entity. So the game itself took me about 3 to 3.5 hours to complete. And it's a small puzzly style game. And essentially what happens is Nico discovers a light bulb, which you soon find out is the sun for the Earth, and the Earth, not the Earth, the planet, and the planet's gone dark. And you need to deliver the sun to the tower. To get there, you've got to go through the Barrens, the Glen, the Refuge, the city, up an elevator, solve the Clover puzzle, and reach the top of the tower. And your job as the player is not to deliver the sun, but it is to guide Nico to deliver the sun. And there is dialogue between the player and Nico, and it's a very interesting dynamic because Nico will turn to the player and ask for guidance. I'm not sure how much of a bearing that actually has on the game as to the inputs that you put in, but it was a refreshing interaction to have. The game opens in a house with Nico, and there's a computer and a TV remote, and that's really where like the first puzzle gets, like, you need the information from that TV remote as to like what buttons are, what numbers there are, and what colours they are. And it's an interesting way to approach the puzzle. And as you make your way out of the house, you end up at the Barrens, where you start discovering that really there's quite a lot going on. That Nico has found the sun, but she is the Messiah as foretold in the prophecy, and the player is assuming the role of the god of this world. What then happens is you have a sequence of puzzles and challenges to go through, which are interesting for sure. In the Barrens, there's not anything particularly challenging. It's just figuring out how to solve the problems that the game introduces. And then as you move further into the game, it starts doing different things. Like in the next area, there's a puzzle that you need to set so on the floor there's tiles that when you step on them, they light up. If you step on them a second time, they'll turn off. And the game changes your desktop background to the pattern that needs to be represented. So you just need to make sure that you're aware of actually what's going on the rest of your computer as well. In some cases, there's a file that's generated that you need to have a look at, and when you have a look at it, it gives you the answers that you're looking for. Something that the game does frequently is close itself down, but that's usually when you reach the end of an area, and you can use a bed, at which point Nico goes to sleep, and you then go back into the game to Nico dreaming. You see what Nico's dreaming about, and Nico asks you, did you see the dream, and what inference you can make from it. There's some really cool elements outside the game. There's one part where you get an extra window that you have to manipulate to understand what what door you need to go through, what corridor you need to go down, by lining up a clover that you've got equipped, and lining up the two windows so that you can figure out which door or corridor the overlay is pointing to. It's very, very interesting, and it's well put together. I really enjoyed it. One of the things as well is that I've been saying Nico every time because it's never explained whether Nico's a boy or a girl, have cat-like eyes, and you kind of can project onto them what you want them to be, but you don't need to. It's just Nico, that's the name of the character. And yeah, the game itself has this narrative. So you get through the game, you've been guiding Nico on this journey to deliver the sun to the top of the tower. You get to the top of the tower and you're faced with a decision. The decision kind of gave me closure to a decision that I had hoped for in The Last of Us. When you get to the end of The Last of Us, you're forced with what I thought was a decision. Turns out it's not a decision, because that's how the game ends. And whereas at the end of Oneshot, you are faced with this decision. I'm not going to spoil the decision. It was a fascinating decision, but I was on call to Rachel, and it took me probably 5 minutes to make the decision that I wanted to make. I kind of agonised over it, but it was the first time a game's done that to me in a while, where I've just had to sit and be like, oh, I don't really know what to do here. I have this decision to make. But yeah, it was a very, very interesting game. I'm not going to say it was fun, but I think it had more to it than just being simply fun. It had some meaning to it that gave the whole game some weight that I really, really enjoyed. I highly recommend checking it out. It's probably, I don't know, £12 at most on Steam. So yeah, I highly, highly recommend that game. Thank you everyone for listening. My name is Topham, or you can find me across the internet at DestroyTopham or at Etherfall. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.